Hey everyone, welcome back to the Collector Series on WTCtv. Last year we did on this show a show with the Indie Brotherhood of wrestling cards, and we did pretty good, Tony. We had 8 of the 12 of us, if I recall.
Yeah,
But
it was a good.
and we were worried how are we going to get that many, and I was surprised that we managed to get 8. But who couldn't make it back when we did the show was Chris, Tony O, Armand, but you're never going to see Armand, and our guest today, Pete Lynch. And Pete, I think it was your daughter's birthday that day, or
It was, yeah. I'm
yeah.
so sorry. I would have loved to have been there.
I know,
Yeah, I'm sorry I
and you
missed
were
it, but
there
thank
you
you
were
for
there in
having me now.
spirit. But if you remember, we talked briefly after that, and you told Tony, you told me, oh, we'll do one soon. I said, yeah, we'll do another collector's series episode just with you because you're a dude that covers all facets of the wrestling business. I mean, you're certainly known in our little indie community. But we're going to
I
start
appreciate it.
going back to your earliest memories. The one thing that we three and like the Hogan collectors and the modern day guys and the shiny guys and the vintage guys like Rob England, the archivists like me, Tony, and Chuck. The one thing that we all have in common is that we're all wrestling fans, and it
Oh,
started
big
off
time.
with a love of wrestling. And for most of us, it started off when we were kids. Something caught with us, and in most cases, it stuck with us to the point that here we are at this stage of our lives doing this. So, Pete Lynch, welcome to Collector Series. Why don't you take us back to day one? What was it that's
Yeah, thank you.
wrestling bug for you?
Oh man, so obviously I grew up in Maryland. I lived in Annapolis, Maryland, and we had shows in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol Center, or you could go to Baltimore and the Baltimore Arena. WWF, Hulk Hogan, and all those guys were really big up there, but so was the NWA. And my first ever live wrestling match was the Great American Bash 1988. So I actually went to an NWA pay-per-view or whatever it was back then as my first ever show. The main event was Lex Luger against Ric Flair. I don't know if you remember that one, but Lex Luger has Ric Flair up in the torture rack. It's everybody's going nuts, as loud as a building can ever get. They ring the bell. He drops him. Everybody thinks that Lex Luger won the belt. And this guy comes in the ring, and they said that the Maryland Athletic Commission stopped the match because Lex Luger was bleeding too bad. So Ric Flair retained the belt. And so that's the highest of highs to the lowest of lows within a 2-minute period. And I mean, I was hooked. That the first live match, and it was amazing. The entire card was Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer. But that match, main event, Ric Flair and Lex Luger, was something I'll never forget. And I was hooked from that point on. But obviously, WWF was a big thing too, and Hulk Hogan became my guy, and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was incredible. So WrestleMania came, and that was it. But living in Maryland, we got both. We had WWF and NWA, which became WCW. So huge fan of both from the very get go. That's my first ever match was one I've seen at a ton of shows. I don't know if I've ever topped it. It was incredible.
Good storytelling.
Oh no, it was amazing. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. And all these years later, they've done so many things again, and they've never really come back and done. They stopped it because they were bleeding, and WWE now you can't really bleed, and you would think that they would have gone back to that. They've covered so many different finishes, but that was one I'll never forget. They had it. Lex Luger won. It was new champ. Everybody was going nuts, and then they just yanked it out from you. It was
Don't lose
never
hope.
forget it.
Don't lose hope.
No,
Man.
no, no. But yeah, that was my first ever live match. It was, one of the best events ever. If you haven't seen it, you guys got to watch that match. I'm sure it's on the Peacock or somewhere that you can go back and check it out.
One of my earliest memories, I got into it during the Chic era, the original Chic, but I was
Sure.
probably like 13, 14 when I saw Harley Race versus Ric Flair in what they used to call the curfew match at the Maple Leaf Gardens. So it would start at
Yeah.
around quarter after 10, and curfew was at 11. And I remember I was in the third row. I was just a kid, and I saw those two guys going at it like tooth and nail
Yeah.
out of the ring. And I think same thing. You see Ric Flair when you're young, he's impressionable. It sticks.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, he's memorable. That's why he's at the top of the Mount Rushmore for me. He's and
Yeah,
still
me
going.
too. I always say, like, there's Hogan and Flair, and then there's everybody else. And I get into trouble
I,
for that
I agree.
because
I
there's a lot of
agree. I
people that say,
mean,
oh no, there's Stone Cold, there's Taker, and they're all in my top 10. But you either, if you're gonna, who's the guy? You're either a Flair guy or a Hogan guy. And I
right.
think it's one of them, no, Tony?
No, I'm not. I don't agree with you that, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I'm not a Hogan guy. I'm not a Warrior guy at time frames. Like, I mean, you're
But
talking to a guy.
who do you feel, regardless of who you liked, who do you feel should be recognized as the top? Like, I think that's what we're
Oh,
getting at when we say the guy. Who's the greatest of all time,
now
covering
we're
all of it, you know?
now we're talking people's personal Rushmores, basically what you're saying. So, obviously you're gonna have to put Hogan and Flair on a Rushmore. That I agree. You have to put on a Rushmore like that.
And then the other two can be interchangeable, yeah?
Those two can be no, those two are on. Period.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Interchange.
saying. And the other two
Yeah,
after Hogan and
yeah.
Flair, take your pick.
Well, and then I mean, yeah, you could put an Andre on there. You can end up putting like a Stone Cold or a Rock or
Rock, Cena,
I think it
Undertaker.
depends on how old you are, because if you're
That's true
older,
too.
like my dad will tell me that Bruno Sammartino is the
Oh
best
yeah.
of all time. And, I saw a little bit of him at the end, but, certainly he was not at the level when I was growing up. So I didn't get to see that.
But he
But
was a
people will
champ for
tell
so
you,
long.
right?
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he went
That's what
15
his
years
thing
without
was.
losing, or, whatever. But so it really depends on how old you are, I think. But
yeah.
but if you look back, Hogan and Flair were there when wrestling like went through the roof. So to me, you have to put those two. But
Pete's right on the money there. I think too. It all depends on your age and how old you are and stuff like that. Because again, Bruno would be an excellent choice on someone's Rushmore. Then you go like maybe there's a Lou Thez on there. Maybe there's a Gorgeous George on there. Who knows? I mean,
Funny you mentioned Thez because Rob England and I had a back and forth about Lou Thez, and I think I mentioned to him that when I was a little kid, my elders told me that Lou Thez was the best there ever was, no question. And he
right.
seldom gets talked about in our generation like these days.
yeah, that's right.
But that's
My kids will tell you it's John Cena, so they came a little bit after the Rock and Stone Cold. And so it's,
Tony, you said it's
yeah,
how old you are, Pete.
yeah,
Also where you are, because when I do my top 10 wrestlers of all time and I post it and people feed back on it, if you're in Mexico, Rey Mysterio has to be on that top 10. And if you're
sure,
in
sure.
Japan, Antonio Inoki has to be on that top 10.
Yeah.
So there's the regional biases as well. But
Good,
yeah, Hogan and
very
Flair
good.
for me. Take your choices who the best of all time is, but it's one of them. I like Flair, but
That's a good,
I understand
good,
if you pick Hogan.
good point. Not only age, but yeah, region is a good point.
So Pete, did it stick with you throughout? Like a lot of times we hear people say that, yeah, I watched as a kid and I went to, got into high school, got into girls, got into life, and then it kind of came back. And then there's some of
Same.
us
Yeah.
that always was with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely had that period of where I went out of it. I did go to college in the 90s. So 96, I was in college and my college roommate, and we just, first thing you do is start talking, what do you like? And wrestling came up. Obviously then, the WCW, the Attitude Era and the WCW were going head to head. So we went through that. We actually did go to the Great American Bash, um, both when Hogan turned, when Rodman came in. That was in Daytona, where I'm in Florida. So I was in Florida for college. So we got to see a lot of those cool moments as well. But then, I got married and college was over and it kind of fell off my plate. Wrestling came back to me in 2012. I actually did a charity event with Devon Dudley, who lives down the road from me here, and it was called Hope for a Single Mom. It was benefiting women with breast cancer, and he asked if I would help him do his event because I did marketing in the area and everything. And I'm like, yes, Devon Dudley from the Dudley Boys is asking me to help him do an event, and he's like, yeah, and the special guest that they were bringing in was Hulk Hogan. So the first match that I ever got to help out with was Devon Dudley with Hulk Hogan. At the Melbourne Auditorium, there was probably 1,000 people there, maybe. I got to interview both of them before the show, which was like, is this real life? Um, yeah, I mean, it was incredible. And, so that was super cool. And then at that point, my kids were, my daughter, I guess, was like 3 or 4, and Florida Championship Wrestling was local. So they would do shows in Orlando. They would come down to Melbourne every once in a while. And Ric Flair came to do a meet and greet at the Melbourne show one day. So I said, hey kids, let's go check out a show. And we went. There was maybe 100 people there in the building. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is the, ringing the bell. Skinner was there. He's like running the thing. Ric Flair came in for the meet and greet. The wrestlers that were on the card now are all the top people. So it was $10 tickets, I think, but you got to meet Ric Flair and whoever every show they would bring in somebody. I remember Cody Rhodes came in for a show. Ted DiBiase came in for a show. And when that switched over to NXT, again, they would do local shows, and we met Finn Balor, and then of course Bayley, Charlotte, Becky, all that crew there that my daughter just loved. And that really got me back into wrestling when the kids would love to go. When they're pulling me to go, it was a cool feeling. It's like, all right, we're in now. Let's go.
So they
So,
kind of
yeah,
more
that's
than
when I
pulled
came
you,
back into it.
they more than pulled you back in, because now all of a sudden you found yourself, having more of an active role in local wrestling events. So second thing is Pete, the indie promoter slash announcer. I think you've refereed as well. Talk about how you
Done a
got
little bit of it, yeah. So
so entrenched.
yeah, so Atomic, now Atomic Legacy Wrestling. It was Atomic Revolutionary Wrestling when a couple of years ago when I got into it. Again, another local show. They were we'd go as fans to be there and everything. And the ring announcer was actually retiring and moving up north, like to Pennsylvania or something. So they said, "Hey, we're going to have an audition for a ring announcer." And I said, "Well, how do I? Never done ring announcing, but I'm outgoing. I host a lot of events, and I'm like, well, let me audition." And I got a call the very next day after I sent in my little audition tape saying, "If you're serious, we would love to have you." And the first show I came in was the big anniversary show that they do every year. They brought a ton of people in. I think Eric Bischoff was there. Um, a couple Hall of Famers and everything. We have Wes Briscoe on our show, so his dad Gerald Briscoe was there. So yeah, it was just, here you go. Matt Cardona was on that show. So my very first time, getting to introduce people to the ring, I have all these legends coming down, and it was super fun. So I just, once I started doing that, it was like, hey, can you help us with social media? Can you help us with marketing? Yeah. So I help with the Facebook page, um, the flyers and all that kind of stuff, getting the word out about the shows. And yeah, we do shows basically monthly, every 6 weeks or so, something like that now. And it's been 3 or 4 years, I guess, since I've gotten into it. But I've gotten to do commentary. I've gotten to actually get involved in a match. We did a hardcore scramble where, like the title can change hands a whole bunch of times during a match. And I've technically been the hardcore champion 3 times for less than probably a minute total, but whatever. It's on my resume.
Title is a title.
Counts.
Yeah, no, exactly. It definitely counts. So, yeah, I've gotten to do a little bit of everything, and it's just been really cool, getting to see some of the people that we've had come through our shows now, in the either in Ring of Honor and AEW, and it's like, wow, like they were just local on our show with 150, 200 people there, and now they're a big deal. Florida has a lot of great talent, so it's really cool to see the people that come through and where they are now.
Nice. Well, one of the
Yeah.
things that you do, and I think what first got you on our radar, is you put out a card set. And we see a lot of card sets, and we see a lot of indie card sets, but a set came out from a group in Florida called ARW. And
Yeah.
immediately, those cards were a sensation because they were better than anything we'd seen in a long time. The photography was great, the layout was great, the way they were described was great. It didn't seem like your normal indie set. It seemed like, people that have been making cards for a long time, and we didn't know who you were. And
Right.
that was the first time, I think, Tony, we heard the name Pete Lynch, because he was the mastermind behind this card set. So explain how that all came about. I know you worked very closely with your guy who's the designer, but
Yeah. No.
home run.
I mean, that was like, it's still hearing you say that is like the greatest feeling ever. I've been a card collector all my life. I don't know that ever went away, necessarily. Like I'd go to Walmart, I'll buy a pack of cards if I'm there just to do it. But um, that came up, a lot of the guys and girls that wrestle on our show never had a card. And I was like, well, why not? Like, why don't you do it? And they're like, well, I don't know. I don't know who does it. I'm like, well, how do I get involved in, maybe I could do it. I don't know. And we had Chris who works with does the Raw Deal Indie cards. And he had come to a couple of our shows, and he actually made a card for me, which was the first time I had ever been on a card. And I'm like, damn, that's awesome. Like, and I asked him, like, how do you do this? And he told me the website he uses, you have to upload an image and everything. And I said, wow. I said, I have a fantastic graphic artist. Ryzen, who has been on AEW several times, was our graphic artist. And then Roland was our photographer. He goes by Tusslemania on Twitter and Instagram. He's world class. Now he's with Wrestling Revolver. He's done AEW. He's done all kinds of stuff. He's fantastic. So I'm like, I have access to what I feel is the best photographer in the business. And if the pictures can be great, then the set can be great. I really believe like if the pictures are good, you can make anything else work. And I talked to some of the people saying, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And I was overwhelmed by how many people actually were willing to do it. We had Teal Piper. That was like, I think her first ever card that she had. Matt Taven, who's now on AEW, and Vincent, who's in AEW and Ring of Honor. They're all like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, okay. So now the set, I knew I needed, if we were going to do a set, I knew I needed to get some people who other people would know, because otherwise, our local crowd would buy the local people. But when we bring in a bigger star, you need that kind of name recognition to have some kind of pull outside of our area. And everyone said yes. So it was just like, okay. So I got all these pictures from Roland. I mean, I put a lot of time into it. I really did. We had thousands and thousands of pictures I went through because, this is our actual set right here. So we did the set. We did a picture on the front and on the back because I wanted the backs to look good too. A lot of the indie cards I had seen, have great fronts, but then they like kind of phoned in the back of the card. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it and put my name on it, I want it to be great. So I wrote a bio on all the people. We had the great images. Ryzen came up with an amazing design. And yeah, I mean, it was probably a 6-month process from the time I started the first card to getting it done. The website I used, you could print like 18 to 24 cards or 25 to 36 cards. And then once I went over the 24, I said, well, I might as well do 36 now, because if it's going to be the same price to print them, then, and I had to go get 10 more people and, get all their information. And we did the height, the weight, all that kind of stuff on the back. So it was probably a 6-month ordeal to get it done, and finally got the cards out, and the reception was incredible. I never, I thought it would be cool for our crowd to have the cards, but I never expected to. I mean, have you in Canada writing me, and people in Arizona and all this stuff reaching out saying, hey, these cards are great. It was an incredible feeling, and I'm so appreciative of the result. But it was definitely a lot of hard work putting it in, and I appreciate the feedback on them. They came out great.
Yeah, I remember when I out and we interviewed you about putting out that card sets like that, and it was I remember you saying that the process was long, but the reward was so great.
Oh, I mean, it's fantastic. Even to this day, like you'll go somewhere and somebody will have some on their merch table or whatever, and like, oh, you still got those? He's like, yeah, I had them in my drawer. I didn't want to get rid of all of them, but now they're selling them again, and it's cool. I am actually working on another one. We did make 3 test cards. I don't know if that'll end up being the image necessarily, because we had another photographer came in that was amazing. So I think I want to lean towards like her style, which is really, really good too. So I think there'll be a couple more cards coming out this year, whether it ends up being a full set again or just 10 at a time or something like that. I think because 36 cards was a lot, and I don't know if I want to go through all that at one time. But if I do 10 at a time and do a couple series or something like that, I think that'll be a little easier on everybody and my wallet, because the price adds up to print all these cards.
We're well aware of that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, it was really cool, and I thank you both and everybody that has been so kind about talking about the cards, because it dream come true to make it, and to get the reception that it did was incredible. I'm humbled. Thank you.
Well, our pleasure. It's a wonderful job. We're pleased that we got to enjoy them as much as we did. And you say now that it's ALW. I think we need
Yes.
under the new identity.
Oh no, for sure. It's coming. I'm working on it. I think we have like 8 of them that are ready. I think I want to get to 10 before I put it out, because I don't know if anybody will buy 8. I don't know. You got to make it at least decent, but yeah, they look really cool. So I think people will be
Well,
happy with how these. I have a lot to lead up to. Like I can't have the second set being no good after the first one came out. So
Yeah,
Well, if,
like the band Boston,
oh
if
yeah,
Chuck,
right, exactly.
Chuckster has his way, it's like that. He'll say, "Please don't do 10. It's a whole extra wasted 9-pocket sheet."
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, we can do 9. I'll do. Okay, that'll work.
nine for Chuck.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So once your
But
set came out, all of a sudden Pete Lynch was not only the guy behind the ARW set that we were gushing over, but he also became a member of the Brotherhood thread. And the indie group that was started by Michael Neubauer was just a conversation thread amongst him and Caleb and Matt and a few guys that were into it. And then Tony and Chuck and I got involved because we collected stuff and archived. And then you got involved, and I began to appreciate, oh, Pete's not just a guy that's behind the scenes at an indie wrestling promotion. He collects this stuff and in a big way. And you go after a lot of singles and such that guys like me that buy
yeah,
sets
so
don't.
yeah, so again, like in here in Florida, there's been a lot of people that have come through, and it's cool like that they have cards now. So it really became, these are my friends and I want to support them. So Ignite Wrestling they've closed down now, but several of the people that I know had cards through them. That actually was another reason that I was like, okay, I can really do this because they put out a set here in Florida with some of the people that are in our set.
Several sets.
So yeah, right. So I mean, they did great, and they were nice for what they were. Again, the backs is
Well, the
the thing.
backs
That's why I
weren't.
was like, I really need to do the backs because they don't have they didn't, some of them did not have backs on to them. So I was like, all right, let's do them. But they came out and they had cards of several of the people that I like. So I was like, all right, well, now these people that I know have cards, so I want to collect them. Like I need to go find the card of Chico Adams was a guy that's been on our show. He had 4 or 5 Ignite cards, and I had to find them. And that actually led me to your guys' websites and everything, because now it's like I can look and say, all right, well, what cards am I missing? Kylan King is a really big star down here in Florida, or was. She signed with Impact Wrestling now. We were big fans of hers. Again, my daughter liked her a lot. So I was like, okay, let's try to get all of her cards. And that brought me to like the price guide and all those Tony's website and everything like that. And it's like, okay, now I know that I need to get these other 3, and one of which I'm still missing. So if anybody has the 2018 Kylan King where she's holding the teddy bear, I really want that card. That's my number 1 on my list. I'm looking. But yes, I mean, I realized all these people have other cards, and I'm like, I need to go get them now. And the people that have wrestled on our show that have now moved up to AEW or to WWE or to NXT, it's like they have cards now. So let's go get them. Let's reach out and let's try to find them. And I mean, there's a ton of cards that come out now, so it's hard to kind of keep up with everybody, but I try my best,
Not easy.
to get all the ones that I can.
Do you go back and
The
collect
other
any of the old
Raw.
stuff? Do you go
Yeah,
back?
I mean, I collected. I was never 82. I'm 46 now. My birthday was last Monday, so 85 was the first cards I remember having. Really, 87 I probably collected more. Because that was WrestleMania set or whatever, like the Bret the Hitman. I know I had those. I do not have any of them anymore. I wish I had. I don't know what. I'm sure that shoebox went in the garbage sometime, and I probably kicked myself because wrestling's not cool anymore. Let's throw all these away. And now I see some of these for sale. In fact, the Rock football card, I have to tell you, like they gave that out at the University of Miami at a game I was at, and I folded that sheet into a paper airplane, and I flew that from the top section of that building, and it landed on the field. And I remember like going nuts because this airplane like went so far. And now I see like David Peck and all these guys posting this Rock football card, the Miami Hurricanes, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I really legitimately folded that up and threw it.
I
And
have similar stories with rookie Gretzky's because up here in
oh,
Canada,
oh
I was a
man,
kid in
okay, well you
'79 in
win.
grade 8. I had a gym bag full of them, Pete, and we were
Yeah.
taking them, and we had no idea.
No, yeah, I mean clearly every time I see every time I see that card come up, I'm like, oh, because I know I had one. My dad, he would have gone with me to the game, so he would have got one too. And yeah, both of those got folded up, and there were other, like I think Warren Sapp, and there's some other like pro football players. Ray Lewis is on there,
Oh, yeah,
so
it's a nice sheet
it's
to have,
not
isn't
just
it?
The Rock. It's really sad that I did
Yeah,
that, but
can't put
you don't have the stories.
no shoulda, coulda, wouldas here.
No, of course
No,
not. Yeah, so I did go back and get an 85 Hogan. It's not a 10 or anything like that. It's just raw because I had to have it. That was the yellow one. I don't have the blue one, but I had to have that card in the collection. But I haven't gone
That,
back to buy too many of the, old stuff. I should.
that's a good opening right there for me. It's not on our notes like that, but where do you stand on graded cards? Do you prefer them graded? Do you prefer raw cards? Do you not care?
So I really don't care. Caleb really got me into the CGC now. It was CSG because they would grade indie cards, and they actually graded my set thanks to you guys. Again, they did check the websites, and they said, okay, these cards are legit. So I sent my card in and a couple of the other ones, and it was super cool. So I do send some cards in. I don't have anything that's that valuable that it's like going to change the world. Um, I do have a couple graded ones. Like this is I got this one back. Where am I at? This is the Sasha Banks or Mercedes, Monet, whatever, indie card, and it came back at 10. So that was super cool. But I don't have to have it. I mean, for the most part, I buy the cards of the people I like. Masha Slamovich has become my personal collection now. That was thanks to Raw Deal Indie card. I was like, all right, let's try to support everybody. And then she had a card. So I said, all right, let's buy hers. And she was super cool to us. She sent my daughter like some bracelets and a shirt or something like that. We didn't order it. She just sent it. And then she became cool. So now it's like, I got to buy every card that she has. So whether that's, a beat up, she drops them right through the mail, so it's just envelope and a stamp. And here it is. But I just want to I'm trying to have one of every card that she has. So for the most part, I don't care. It's just I want to have it in my collection. But maybe if I got a limitless MJF, I'd prefer it to be a 10, but I'm not there yet. Maybe one day.
Yeah, you collect the cards you like. People get tired of hearing that saying, and it sounds obvious, but if you're integrating, if you want to preserve the value, if you like the look of a slab, then great. If you want, like I have
I
that
did.
Mercedes card, but it's with every other card in that set in the binder somewhere.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly.
That's my
I did
preference.
find this card. You remember this one? I think I
Yeah,
bought that from from you
Yeah, I've got
that
one of those too.
years ago before I ever knew you because I had to have the Florida Championship Wrestling Heath Slater autographed card. I think I
what
did get that from you.
number is that one?
Number 9 of 50.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Pete, do you have any more of
So
those from that first 2010 Slamorama set?
no, so
Me neither. I
we
just
didn't
have the
go
Heat that
until
Tony had. I've been trying to find them. I have a complete set of one and then bits and pieces of the other two, but that first set is the one that I can't find. And Tony's got a whack of those Heaths, but
yeah, no,
hard to find.
I didn't start going to FCW until 2012. So I really kicked myself because that 2011 set had Roman and Seth and all
Big
those
Heath.
guys. I did not get um I did not get those. But the 2012 ones, my kids each got a set. They gave them out. I threw those in the shoebox, so they were sitting around for a while. But Page, I guess, is the biggest card that came out of that, but nothing like the 2011 set. I wish I would have
It's funny that
wished
that he that for those watching or listening, so yeah, go back and check the WTC TV archives. I actually interviewed Heath
Right.
that set, and he helped put that set together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sorry, I'm getting fed food while we're talking here. This is lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, he tells a story about how he helped put that set together because him, I think he mentioned Cardona as well, maybe at the time, and I believe that they put together the merch table together. They were one of them was a carpenter or had some carpenting skills. So you have to go back and watch
Really?
the interview. He
Oh
talked about
yeah.
it. It was he was really into that kind of stuff. So he was super psyched. He goes, "What? We're gonna make trading cards? I'm in."
Yeah, I had actually seen the 2011 ones. I don't think I ever even saw these 2010 ones until years later. So not many people had them anyway.
It's
At
a
least my
smaller
friends
set,
that
but it's much rarer. Much
yeah,
harder to
it
find.
must be because I would have friends that would go to the shows that were trying to get the cards autographed, and they all had the 2011 ones. But I didn't even know this set existed, and we went to a lot of FCW shows. So either they didn't give them out at the shows over in Melbourne and Orlando because they were in Tampa. So maybe they just gave them out at the Tampa shows. But I never saw anybody having these cards at all. So I'm not sure what the number printed was or
Yeah,
whatever. But
that Heath episode, do go back and watch that one
I will, yeah.
with Tony and Heath. That episode I remember in particular because it was really funny. I always watch these things upstairs in my office, but for whatever reason, I watched that one downstairs on the big screen in our living room because the wife
Yep.
was. And Heath has quite a considerable collection of wrestling cards, and they sit
Yeah.
behind. And he started mentioning one card, and Tony said, "Oh, that's the 1992 tops this." And then my wife walked in as Tony was rhyming off, and she'd never seen Tony before. Oh, you want that card? It's such and such, and this card is a such and such from this, and he did like five in a row. And then when he was finished, she looked at me. She says, "Oh shit, there's two of you." And that was her
Well,
introduction to Tony. And I always remember that was the Heath Slater um, episode where Tony was rhyming off all these cards just on the description of what where they were from. Oh, this is WCW 99 tops, whatever. And he
wow,
knew them
yeah.
all. And
No,
Susan
yeah, I
comes in
mean
and says,
it's
"Oh my God, you're not alone." I said, "No, I'm not."
yeah.
And we're finding each other real fast during COVID.
It
Uh,
really is incredible. Like I wish, looking back, TNA was in Orlando all the time. They had a
Yeah.
ton of cars. I never really bought any. We would go to those shows because it was free. And that was AJ Styles and like a ton of big stars. Drew
Chris Boland,
McIntyre
those
was there.
TriStar, we talk about that all the time. That
Yeah,
those TriStar sets, especially when Hogan, Flair, and Foley came along. You get some great
right.
autographs in there. You get some real good stuff. So
Yeah, and it was just, and we really had access to the people because they would all hang out afterwards. And I'm really not as much an autograph guy. I really should be because I have all these people. I have access to all these people, and like we finished the show, and I'm like, dang, I didn't go over and get my card signed. Like, but I don't know, one day. But yeah, I look at that like, man, if I would have been into the cards more, when I first got into this, like I know I could have probably had 10 Roman Reigns cards because
yeah, that's
everybody had them and they weren't really into it. And I'm like, I'll trade you. I'll give you this, whatever. And they would have done it. So
how's dinner, Tony?
dude, I'm so hungry right now, man.
Oh, sure.
It's when we record these, a lot of times they're during right in the middle of my dinner time. So I usually close the store up at 5. I'll
Awesome.
get
okay.
home it'll be 4, 6 like that. When it's all said and done, then I come in here and my wife making dinner. It's like that. We're gonna have dinner. So
I do have a cool story on the 2012 FCW card set because I don't know, I think I told this one before, but this card right here,
Yep.
and this is a deal right now, Bo Dallas, because he's
Mhm.
coming back. This was the first autograph he ever signed as Bo Dallas. So he was Bo Rotundo before.
That's right.
And this card came out and we went after the show and he was hanging out. He was the champion at the time. And I asked him to sign the card and he writes Bo and he stopped for him and he goes, "Oh," he goes, "I've never signed a card Bo Dallas before. I guess this will have to do." So I
Mhm.
always wondered, like there's always talk about PSA and how they grade things and if the signatures that they're gonna think are real. I have a picture holding this card with him, but that was the first time he ever wrote Bo Dallas on anything, and he didn't know how to write it. And it was like, wow, this is a brand new card that just came out, and now I'm not Bo Rotunda anymore, so I'm gonna have to come up with a new autograph.
Yeah.
He hadn't practiced it, I guess. So
Gotta write
it
that
was
name.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And he might be coming back now. That's a rumor. So
Well, there was the
that
Husky
was
Harris card, but the one from the series, the 2010s, it was Rotunda. I can't remember if it
right,
was
yeah, right.
Rotunda but
Well, yeah, Wyndham Rotunda was Bray Wyatt. Bo Dallas is his brother. But
yeah,
yeah, I think it was Bo. I think it was Bo Rotunda on the card.
right.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
But
So that
the Husky Harris was the 2011, but
correct.
there was a Bray Wyatt, whatever he was calling himself in that 2010 too. That's probably the most valuable one from that set. But
Probably.
I
Yeah,
can't
I'm sure.
remember. We'd have to check the record, check the sites to see, but I can't remember what that one was. But again, they don't come up that often, so love to find a
No.
collection of those.
Yeah, I remember seeing it a couple years ago, and it was like $50 or something. And the next time I saw one, it went for like $400, ungraded. Just sitting there, and I'm like, all right, well, that's out of my
Well,
that's out
that's a
of my
lot of
range.
that's a lot of Caleb and Matt and Armand and these guys boosting the indie market. Like all of a sudden, the Limitless are worth a fortune. The Chikaras are worth a lot. You know, if
Yeah,
we were doing and it was left sort of to the outside world, who knows if they would have elevated to this degree, right? Because we're
yeah. I mean,
bringing a lot of attention to them.
no, for sure. Talking about Limitless, Carmelo Hayes is the guy from NXT here who just got called up to SmackDown, and we've gotten to see him a couple times around here, and he had Limitless cards, and I was able to get the Limitless Series 1, but not the Series 2. And those guys are telling me like there might only be 6 of those cards out there. I'm
Crazy.
like, 6 of Series 2? Like I'll never get this card now. Like now that he's gotten called up, he's gonna, get the fresh eyes now that of the people that are really watching the show, and it'll be impossible now. So
Yeah. When I was buying them, I had no idea there were so many of them. And I remember when I was speaking to the guy directly, he just sent me a bunch and I got a whack of them. I got like 30 or 40 of them and I was thrilled.
okay.
Yeah, but I had no idea that there was so many more. And it was only when, again, the Brotherhood started talking back and forth. I'm like, wait a minute, how many of these? And it was Delacus ultimately that
Oh
figured
yeah.
the edges on all of it and said, this is what it is. And from there, like the MJF now is a big card, right?
I mean, 5 digits on the best one, like which is unbelievable for an indie card. But yeah, there's a lot of really great people in that first set. Like, depending on who continues to be good. I mean, I think MJF will always be the class, but there's some other really good people in there
That's the
too.
beauty of these cards, like you never know who's going to be who. And it could be something as simple as a card from Tony's store of someone that's not known yet becomes the next biggest thing. And that's
Oh
again
yeah,
for
That's the beauty of indie cards that we've discussed many times in the past is that if you want to prospect, yeah, it's one thing when you prospect with some of the major, promotion stuff, stuff that Panini puts out or stuff that Upper Deck puts out.
right. Yeah, if you're already in NXT, you have a decent shot.
yeah, you're at
Yeah,
a certain level, right?
your
Yeah.
your shot your shot definitely greater, but people like people have gravitated towards indie cards because then this is like the bottom of like potential next level star, of trying to find someone who could hopefully get signed by maybe Impact, maybe AEW, maybe WWE, and then go on to become the next, MJF or Tiffany Stratton or whatever we're talking about here. So yeah,
Right.
you have so people are gravitating like, you know what? I'll take a set of that. I'll take 2 sets of that. That's a cheap set. I'll buy 3 sets of that. And just like, well, I don't know anybody on this set, but I don't care because I may have a first of someone who becomes a big star.
Yeah, Billy Starks, she was 17 wrestling, and she had a couple cards, and the next thing you know, she's signed by Ring of Honor now. And there was one, it was an H2O set. They only made 50 of them or something, and that card was going for $200. The
Mhm.
set was $20 for everybody.
That
And
Yeah.
CW, that Mercedes
then all of
card
a
you showed
sudden, like,
earlier, same deal. Like when I bought
yeah,
it was cheap and I got the whole lot of cards,
right.
right? No idea. Same with the Missouri Wrestling Revival with the Tyler Black and the El
Oh,
Generico
right, yeah.
and whoever else was in that. And Buddy put them in these little binders for me, and they were nothing, relative to
Yeah.
what you pay for today. But that's the benefit of having been around and being sort of clever enough to snag these things when we could.
No, yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you get one of those, and that's the thing, you never know. Ignite, I had a card. It was Avery Taylor, who's now JC Jane in NXT. I didn't even know that was her because her name has changed.
Yeah.
But that card was from 2019. That's so 5 years ago. She had a card before she was ever anything in NXT. So if she ever makes it,
Yeah, but that
I gotta
happens
That's
all
why
go.
the time.
that's why I was hitting over in the Brotherhood group. I was hitting up like, hey, I'm the only one who has these graded cards of Hollywood Jace like that. Like,
Right?
what
Yeah.
should I sit on them? Sell them? What should I do with them?
Yeah.
I mean, there definitely weren't a lot. They were numbered on the back, so I assume as long as those are still good. If she, again, she got really popular. That card went nuts. It was over $100 everywhere for a little while. I just haven't seen one sell because I think that is one thing with wrestling card collectors. Is a lot of people once they get it, it's staying. Like
Yeah.
Stays.
it's not often that somebody's given up something like that. So when you're looking for a specific card, it becomes very difficult because like that Ignite, there's probably 50 of those Kylan King cards, and either they're all garbage because nobody knew she was going to be 5 or 6 years ago, but or the people that have them are absolutely not willing to give it up. So
A bit of both.
MJF, same thing. You got one of those limitless cards. When they go on the market, regardless of what the condition is, it's going to be a high thing because they never go on the market.
Let me tell you
Yep.
about JC Jane. I'm on the new Impeccables of 2023s. I'm down to like the last half dozen or so, and don't have a JC Jane yet. Don't have a Tiffany Stratton yet. Don't have Liv Morgan yet. So those are the names. So JC's in that top tier of
Oh
everybody.
yeah, no,
You know,
she's getting a push now in NXT.
yeah,
She didn't get drafted or whatever, but that doesn't mean
doesn't
more
mean
TV time, or whatever down there. But Tiffany Stratton, she was nothing 2 years ago. She had never even wrestled, and she's going to be a superstar. Like,
Yep.
I don't know if it's too late to prospect on her because the cards are already like super expensive, but I
no.
mean,
Her
you
Impeccables are
can't look
100
at her and
bucks.
say that. Yeah,
100
you
bucks for
can't
a
look at
base
her
card.
and say she's not going to be a superstar. She's going to be one of the best shortly if she's not already.
Yeah, she's getting there fast for sure.
Yeah, real quick.
So any other stories, Pete, before we wrap up? We chat with each other all the day. It's a blast to actually get to do this in person. We're sorry we missed you the first time around, but it's nice because you're entrenched in the indie world and wrestling in general in so many ways.
Yeah, no, I will say, with this hobby, like my favorite part of it, regardless of the cards, is the people. Certainly the Brotherhood group, we've all like just become really good friends. Like, you never thought, like, how are you going to meet somebody that lives in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Wisconsin, and the fact that these guys are willing to give that information up, when something comes up, because Mike Neubauer, like he could very easily just not say a word
No,
and buy 10 of these things, knowing that he could make, you will down the line make some money on this. But he's the first to say, hey guys, did you see this? Did you see
very
that?
giving
This
guys.
this card is available on eBay right now. You should go get it. I know you like so and so. You should go get it. When he knows it's a good deal and you could flip it immediately.
Mhm.
It's just become really cool, the fact that everybody is so willing to, help you out. That's not the case in life. People at my work, try to like get by to move up and move up the ladder. And it just seems like the people that I've met through this hobby have just been so cool and willing to help you get what you want to get, and vice versa. Obviously I would do the same, but it's just really cool. The people in the wrestling car, for the most part, are just great and willing to help you with all the information. I mean, you guys running both of your websites do that for the benefit of everybody, not for the benefit of yourself, like, and that's so admirable that you take the time to
Thank you.
update these things. And no, absolutely. I think, and the shows that you put on and the podcast that you put out, the information that you provide, it's so helpful to so many people. I mean, I hope you guys realize like how much good you do for this hobby. I will reinforce that in both of you,
I
but I'm
appreciate it.
very
Very nice of
appreciative
you to
of
say.
everything that you guys do.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate it. Having the storefront too is getting me closer to people that I would never have met who are wrestling card collectors or have become
sure,
wrestling because of my store in a sense. So now you get people who come in here in the Arizona area who, or I've even had people from out of town actually, to be honest with you, that come in and meet you for the first time and like, oh, I've just like your guys' shows, your 3 count shows or your monthly recaps used to do us like that. Or so I've learned so much from that kind of stuff like that. And that's kind of what Paul and I have always tried to do is just get out there and get information out there. And hopefully that people can be a little bit educated, and help them with their collections. Cause we want to have fun and we want to be knowledgeable about it too.
yeah, no, I think, I wouldn't know, like when you do the top 10 cards that it sold every month or whatever, I wouldn't have known that information. We hear about a couple, but
Sure.
I don't have my eye out on everything. And it's like, wow, there were 10 cards this month that went for over $5,000 or
Well,
whatever,
nor do
like,
we is a thing. That's why it's good to have so many other people that are contributing that kind of information as well. Like, I mean, we've been doing it for
sure.
a while, we've been around for a bit, but it's
Yeah,
nice to have so many other sort of hands in the soup now because you can't catch it all. Like I have life. Tony has a store. Like Tony's not able to update his website as much as he'd like to. We have a hard time, just him and I spending time together like we used to, just because we're
sure.
busy. I'm busy. So we're
Yeah.
trying to do the best we can, and luckily, we have Chuck sort of that is
Oh,
behind the scenes,
he's a rock
and he
star
makes
for
sure
sure.
that both of our sites are as up to date as possible. And again, thanks to the guys in the Brotherhood. I mean, I'll give a special thank you to Michael Neubauer because he invited us all in, it was his thing. And
Yeah,
he capped it where he capped it. I think he had a good sense that these are the guys, and he sort of understood that these are guys like him that do this for the love of it, not to sort of line our pockets, and are
right.
keen on sharing information. And we appreciate it, Tony, and Armand sends us stuff all the time. Nick has grown so much, especially with Tony, for what he's done. Of course, Chuck is in the group, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
Chuck, so it's a real special group, and that's why you say that it's fun to communicate. I think we sort of hit gold with the right group of guys, with the right sort of personality, with the right mindset towards, albeit indie, not wrestling cards in general. But we've created a nice thing with that group, and I'm definitely proud to be a part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
where was this stuff 20 years ago when I needed it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Look, I think the indie card growth has truly helped the bigger companies. Like I don't know
Yeah,
that AEW necessarily is putting out cards if that all in set hadn't done so well. And WWE has to make sure that their cards are better than they used to be because there's indie cards that are coming out that are just as good. And if people are going to spend the money, they're going to want to get the cards that are going to be, the most bang for their buck. And obviously the one of ones and the shiny, black refractors and all that kind of stuff are going to be the big catch. But if you have a 2012 Roman Reigns or a 20, FCW card or a 2013 Tops, you're going to go with the FCW card. So I just think that um, the potential for indie cards is still. I don't know. I'm a gambler. I work for a casino, so that's you're rolling the dice there. But if you catch one person,
yeah,
and for the most part, these sets aren't expensive. It's normally $20, $30 maybe for a card set, and one person hits it,
yeah.
and you're good.
Well, you mentioned
If
all
you're
in, and I think maybe the bolas, they really changed
sure,
the game. Those three bola sets and the all ins. I mean, it's ultimately would led to AEW if you think about it. And
yeah.
from a card collecting point of view, it really ushered in sort of the era of indie cards. All of a sudden we'd arrived. That subset, and when people were saying last year that like Panini's not making cards and AEW's taking their normal time getting things out. There are no wrestling cards. I'm like, no, no, no. There's plenty of wrestling cards. I'm updating stuff all the time. Just because you don't collect them doesn't mean that they don't exist. If Tony and I were still doing the monthly, we'd have 4 or 5 customer indie sets at least every month,
Oh, I
nonstop. There's
know.
far more indie releases than there are anything by the majors. And
Yeah.
there's stuff out there that Tony and I don't even have, because Armand seems to be the guy, the wizard, that finds them first before the rest
I
of us
tell
gets
you,
us.
he's very impressive.
He is. He
He's
is.
very impressive.
Yeah.
But again, and willing to share. Hey guys, this set's
Exactly.
coming out. You better
Exactly.
buy it because they're only making 30. He could buy all 30 if he wanted to, if it's available, and
Yeah.
he's willing to share that
No,
information
a
out.
long
So
time ago, Tony and I made the conscious decision that this hobby is going to be better if you and I work together rather than trying to be competitive. And sometimes there's light competition between us because that's natural,
yeah,
but you know, but but we rely on each other and we've become very close friends for it because we figure that working together makes us stronger, and that's what the Brotherhood's all about, and that's what Nick and Armand and these guys do for us. They let us know and they share, and we definitely appreciate it.
yeah, no, it's very helpful, and obviously I try to collect as much as I can. It's hard to keep up with all of them anymore, to be honest. Like
It is.
there's so many that it just gets so expensive, but I
How
try to
many are
get as
sitting,
many as I
Tony, in your
can.
inbox now? Probably quite a few.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not up to date on them. There's a few. There's an update to one, and I have to go back to Armand and say, what are these? Is this a continuation from the 2023 version? And these guys keep us straight, so it's
Yeah.
No,
wonderful.
it's great. And they just had the NCAA tournament, I like to call it, of cards. And I was watching that, and I thought that I had been very up to date this year on all the cards that had come out. And then I look at that, he's got 64,
Yeah,
sets
yeah, yeah.
going against each other. And I'm like, how do I not know that
Where
15
where
of
where
these
did
sets
that land? Who
existed?
ended up winning that? Tony, you went for it,
Pro
didn't you get
Wrestling
to the
Junkie
semis or
ended
something?
up.
Pro Wrestling Junkies won it.
Yeah,
Junkie
Pro
won it.
Wrestling
How far did you
Junkies
go? You got
won.
to the
So
semis, Tony, didn't you?
Yeah, I got
he
to the
did get.
semi.
I think Pro Wrestling Junkie took him out, so he lost to the eventual
Yep.
winner. So we can call you second place.
Yeah.
No, but hey, I mean, by the way, your cards are awesome. I love them. I try to get them, as often as I can. And so it's it's
Collector
it's
be upset with the new ones coming out.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, we will be upset.
Well, I mean, they're going to be much harder for others outside the store to get.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
What about others outside of the country?
Well, I've got the continuing series that'll always be going on, and then starting this month, I have a new signature series coming out. So they'll be
Oh,
available VIPs, special card design. They'll be all made of metal and signed.
Nice.
oh wow.
Each one will be limited to the number of VIPs that are ordered.
Well, you see, it's turning
Uh,
into a cool little set as you add more, and you've kept the design consistent. You know, when I had the first two or three, I'm like, this is nice. But now I'm on to page two. It's like, yeah, keep it going. It reminds me of that Topps Living set that you keep adding as you go along.
Yeah, I had a shout out to Adrian for helping me out with the new signature series design, but I like what he did, and it's going to be like an offshoot of whatever. So the continuing series I've been doing is going to continue to keep going. That's already done. I designed all those myself, and then
oh, okay.
I have Adrian to help design and made me a nice template where I can still have some creative control over what I dump in there and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's going to be fun. So my first one's coming up this month. I got Emma and Madcap Moss coming in together. So there'll be cards SS1 and SS2.
Nice.
Emma is to Neil Dashwood is absolutely one of the people that got again my family into wrestling. My daughter's name is Emma. So again, we go to those early NXT, very early, like 2013 NXT shows, and she was there doing her little Emma dance back in the day, and it was like, wow, your name's Emma too. And you know, every time we go to a show, she would take the time to come out and make sure she said hi to my daughter, and it's like, you know, those moments make you a fan. My
Yeah.
favorite wrestling moment. I don't know how much time we have, but Bailey. So Bailey, my daughter was the biggest Bailey fan, and when we went to NXT Takeover, where they did the 30-minute Iron Woman match, which was the first main event in NXT history. It was at the Full Sail University. We had gotten the tickets on the ramp, and when Bailey made her entrance to that night, she came over to my daughter and she gave her slap bracelet. She used to do the slap bracelet thing, and she gave her the thing. Well, after she won the match, and all the wrestlers came out to like clap for her at the end, and Triple H came and gave her the roses and everything. When she left, we were the last people on the row, and she came over to my daughter and gave her the biggest hug. And I was like, that's real, because she remembered her from when she was not a big star. And now she just
Mhm.
had the biggest moment of her life. And she's, going on. Now she's the champ. Now she's moving on. And she remembered that. And she took the time to come over when she didn't have to. And it's like, you know what? How do you not be a fan of somebody like that? To
Yep.
this day, Bailey, Emma, all those girls that were there in early NXT days, um, huge fan, because that's real. Like they really, really took the time to make sure that these fans had something special, and I'll never forget that.
Well,
Cody's
I'll
that way
make sure I
too, right?
put a nice
I
face.
hear Cody's that way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you see Cody all the time, like taking time to take, after Raw, he stays for an hour to take pictures of everybody on the ramp and, sign autographs or whatever. And, you know, you know, you get this job, you do it to have people love you. And, obviously he takes the extra time to make sure that people got the experience that they wanted. And that's awesome. Hard
Pete,
not to be a fan.
Pete, we really appreciate you coming on today. Tony, anything more from Mr. Lynch before we call it a night? We could be talking
Yeah,
forever about Indy cards and
always a pleasure, Pete. And his personality comes out through his text messages to me too. So it the Pete is Pete you get in the Brotherhood group, and the calmness and niceness that he's like is the same guy you get to see on screen. So I appreciate
No, I say all the time, I really believe in positivity. You're either positive or you're not. I just, that's a choice, and I wake up to be positive, and I try to do as much as I can to make other people smile. So if I can help in any way, then it's a great thing. But I appreciate you both so much. Thank you for having me on the show. It's still so cool to think that I'm even in this close to the level of the people that are in this group. And I love everybody, and I'm so appreciative of you both. And,
well, you give
thank you
back,
for
and
having me.
we both appreciate it as well. Since this brief time that we've known each other, Tony and I have said, man, that Pete Lynch is a good guy. Because
I appreciate it.
our kind of guy. Now, are we going to see you in Cleveland this summer?
That is definitely the plan. So, my wife's family's from Erie, Pennsylvania, which is like 45 minutes away. So the plan is I'm gonna go dump her and the kids at grandma's house, and then I can sneak over. So
Well, we're
still
gonna start
working on it,
talking
but
about a Brotherhood dinner. Matt and Chuck and I have been sort of loosely, we're gonna do a roll call soon, and
okay.
we're gonna do a Brotherhood dinner. So as many of us as we can, and just a night to hang out and enjoy each other.
I would love it. I would love it. Yeah, that's definitely the plan. So I didn't buy my ticket yet, but we're our plan would be to drive up there anyway because they want to stay for a week and hang out. So I would love it. I would love to meet you guys in person, but it's been great over the Skype and the the
Yeah,
phone and the text and all that kind of stuff. So I would love to meet you guys in person. It would be awesome.
nice. Tony, that's a cool T-shirt. Is that the new one you got in the store?
I do. Yeah, I got the new Hall of
Yeah,
Fame T-shirt. So yep,
Oh,
that's very
awesome.
cool.
in the back. So
There you
yeah,
go.
Very cool.
Yeah, I didn't
yeah, I
realize it was Heyman in the middle. I'm like, oh, this is like just the last one. All right.
got to dress the times when you're at work. You got to dress the part.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
in it.
there you go. This shirt is available at the
Yeah. Pete, why don't you give us your coordinates before we call it a night?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at the promo Pete, the promo Pete. Yeah, feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you very much. If you do want one of these sets, I think I have like 25 of them left or something. So arwmerch.com. You can still pick them up. They're $20. But yeah, and the new set will be coming out soon. So follow me on Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter, so follow me on there, and you'll get to see the new stuff as soon as it comes out.
Can't believe you have any sets left over. Actually,
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been pushing it, to be honest. I'm sure I don't even bring them to the shows anymore. I guess I should probably do that to get rid of them, but uh, you know, it's easier to sell when you have them. So I just they're
Tony, silly
I had
question. Where
it.
can we find you?
oh, this little website called the wrestlingtradingcards.com. You can go check it out over there. So all of our social media handles are on the bottom of every single page. Been there for about 22 years coming up now. So yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. Thanks, everyone. I'm Paul and Ann from Wrestling Card Price Guide. Thanks to Pete. Tony, nice seeing you. We'll be back at you soon. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, guys. Take care.